this week I'm interviewing my very good friend Samantha. She's a very successful journalist, and we will discuss topics such as media bias and also diversity in the workplace. And I think Sam is just going to share her experience working in a very white-dominated field and how does she navigate that space. Welcome to the show, guys. Have a seat. So I have Sam with me today. I'm so excited. Okay, do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Samantha. I'm 23. I'm a journalist. I used to do pageants.
Oh my god, did you?
Yeah.
That's why you're looking like this.
I did pageants because I wanted to become a journalist. Weird thing.
Okay.
But I just thought like pageant girls are always really confident, and I was like, okay, I need to learn how to do public speaking. And
so did you think you got your confidence from that?
yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And how did that translate into journalism?
I mean, I was very curious from a get-go. I was always that nosy child that would never shut up. My mum
Always
hated
asking
taking me
questions.
out because she knew I'd be the one talking all the time. So whenever we went to people's houses, she would make sure I sit right by her side and not wander off because I was just a chatterbox and I was just really curious.
Mm-hmm.
So then combining that with like the pageant world and always having to be like prim and proper,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I kind of created a little mini journalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has your journey into journalism been? What has been like the ups and downs?
I think my journalism career has just technically started.
Okay.
But I think my ups and downs, I mean, try being like an African child and telling your mom and dad
that you want to be a
you want to
journalist.
be a journalist.
How did they react?
My dad was just like, I don't know what that is. He was like, what, you want to read news on the TV? He just could not fathom
Yeah.
like what that meant. Whereas my mum, she was more like, you know, a little more westernized, so she was very supportive. And she knew my talents, she knew I was good at speaking, so for her it was kind of just like, yeah.
She kind of, for her, it made sense.
I can see you do that. So she was very supportive. I mean, the pageants cost a lot of money, like outfits and going to them, so she supported that. Even when I was picking my subjects,
Mm-hmm.
my dad was like, so what do you do for your A-levels? I was like, English, politics, sociology, and law. And he just looked at me like, what a disgrace. Like,
What did he want you to be?
I mean, anything.
But
He was like, if like you can't do anything else, just do nursing. Like if you're not going to be a doctor, if you're not going to be a lawyer, just be a nurse. I was like, I don't want to be a nurse. Like I hate science and sick people. You know.
my mom was the same. My mom always wanted me to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I tried everything. I said I wanted to be a lawyer. She said no, lawyers are liars.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to be. Even when I said politics, she was like, politics where? Have you ever seen a black politician here?
Yeah.
Like she definitely wanted me to be a lawyer, but I decided to follow my passion, and I know you've done so as well. And do you think that's the way to go? Like we should really follow our passion when it comes to making a decision in our careers?
Definitely. I mean, I think especially knowing, I think we're different to other kids. I think if you're like from a African or Asian background, it's very much different, and you need to know that. So I'm all for following your passion, but I've seen some people who are like, oh yeah, I want to be a dancer. And then I sit down like, okay, so have you done your dancing training? Like comparing yourself to the people in the industry, realistically, can you see yourself making money from this industry? And if the answer is no, then we should probably then listen to your parents and do something that you can make money from, and then maybe do that as a side hustle. I think sometimes don't be too ambitious and just set yourself for failure. And I feel like sometimes being in the West, you're so open to so many opportunities, some people get distracted and they think, yes, I'm gonna be, the next Beyonce.
So do you think we should follow our passions, however, be realistic about them?
Yeah, and be strategic and start from from a young age. Don't just wake up one day. I've had friends one day, she was like, oh, I want to be a designer. I was like, you just woke up today at 23, you want to be a designer. I know designers who started making clothes at 15. So you need to put in the work. You can't just wake up and say, oh, I want to be an astronaut. No, put in the work, be strategic about it, especially knowing the background that you're coming from and how many people you need to prove wrong.
Absolutely, especially if you're coming from an African background. I mean, and I think unless you make it and you are successful at what you do, they never accept it.
Yeah.
Has your father accepted it?
I mean, and then after I finished my undergrad in politics and international relations, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm doing a master's in broadcast journalism. His response was, had you done nursing, you'd have a job by now. I was like, out. Anyway, whatever. Did my master's, finished, until I got my job at CNN. That's when I was like, oh, okay then. And
okay,
I
guess.
No, but he never said it to me. Like, he said it to other people, like my family members. He was like, oh yeah, I'm proud of her. But he
never
until
said
this
to
day,
you.
my dad, he would not. Because it's him, like, admitting that, okay, I was
yeah.
wrong and underestimated you.
I do think sometimes African parents, like your dad, I'm sure he's proud of you.
Yeah.
I think they just want to make sure that you're secure in what they do. I don't think it actually comes from like a malicious place if they want you to do more traditional jobs like nursing and doctors and stuff like that. But I do think just being successful at what you do can prove them wrong in a way.
I mean, it's like, I mean, for us at least, we were the rebellious ones who went with what we wanted, but for a lot of other people, it kills their dreams, and it makes them just lose hope, and they conform to whatever their parents want to be, and they're not happy in their careers. So not everybody will rebel and be like, you know what, I'm going to do this subject whether they like it or not. So I think as African parents, I think it's important just to be mindful of what you're telling your kids, and you know, don't shatter their dreams just because you weren't able to fulfill your dreams doesn't mean that we can't.
I think a lot of times is that because I know my mother, she wanted to be a doctor so bad, and I think she just transferred that dream onto me to do it, and I just had to tell her like it's not what I want to do. But going back to you landing your dream job at CNN, tell us about it.
So, I mean, I really wish it was a glamorous story. Every time people ask me, they're like, oh my gosh, Sam, honestly, this is what happened. I finished my master's. I went to City, which is like the Oxbridge of journalism. So here I'm thinking, listen, I've gone to the best journalism school in London. Jobs, no one's going to say no to me. No, that's not what happened. Finished uni in April, May, June, July. I was getting rejections every single day. And there'll be days I'll get like 6 in a row. Like if I apply at ITV for like a couple of jobs, all the rejections would come in one day. So I'd open my email, reject.
Wow.
Jeremy Kyle, for goodness sake. I think I applied for like a researcher job and I got a rejection. And then I don't even remember applying for CNN.
Wow.
Because you know when I got to a point where all my friends are getting jobs. This is why I hate social media, because every time I log on to Facebook, someone's like, oh, I got a job at BBC, oh, I got a job at ITV. I'm thinking, all my classmates are getting jobs.
Why am I not getting
a job? So it got to a point I was just applying for anything and everything, getting rejected left, right, and center. I don't even know when I filled out the CNN one, but I know that it was very last minute, and my friend actually just proofread it, and I sent it maybe 5 minutes before the deadline, and I forgot about it. And then
it's always those that come through though.
Yeah, and then just I wasn't even expecting. One day I just checked my emails, and I see an email from CNN. I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And I you know when you've gotten rejected so many times,
you just expect another one.
Yeah, reject. And I was like, oh no, come for an interview. And the interview was like 2 days after they sent the email. I'm thinking, I've never had like a job interview. What do I do? So I just spent the whole 48 hours just watching CNN, like going through all the stuff that I've liked previously. I just wanted to be on top of, because I didn't know what they would ask me. And then also at uni, they just taught us to know like the news on the day. Like always, if you ever see on my Instagram, I'm always posting news stories. Yeah,
that's where I get my news from now, basically.
Because at City you'd get like a test every Friday on the current affairs. So on my way to the interview, I was just on the BBC app, like what's happening in the rest of the world, blah, 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 blah. And when I walked into the interview, they did ask, what are today's top stories?
Did they actually?
Yeah. Boom, tick, I knew that. And then, there's some tricky questions like, what are the best stories that CNN did and all that kind of stuff. And because I watched the show, I wasn't actually lying when I gave them the response. And I think mine was like Boko Haram. I think they had amazing coverage of the girls being kidnapped. Yeah, and then it was my first interview. I was nervous, I was shaking.
Your first interview ever? Or
ever,
for like a journalist?
My first ever,
oh my god, your first ever interview was for your dream job?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was shaking. I don't even think I was speaking English. Because my mum came up, she's like, what did you say? I said, I don't know. And it felt like an hour.
Dream?
I was just talking. And then I did this thing. I advise everybody to do this. So when I got my email, they kind of put 2 names in the email. And I was like, why are these random names? And I was like, oh, maybe they're interviewing me. So I kind of Googled them, went on to their LinkedIn accounts. And then at the end, they're like, oh, do you have any questions? And then all the questions, I just asked them questions about themselves. Okay. Because I knew about them on
They
LinkedIn.
do always say it's good. It shows that you're really interested if you ask questions back when you're being interviewed. So I always try to do that as well. Like, do a little bit of digging, find out that even if you really don't care, just so it looks good on the interview.
I think one of them wanted to go into war reporting. That was his bio on LinkedIn. I was like, so what made you want to go into war reporting? And then he spent 5 minutes talking about himself. I was like, lovely, I can calm down, gather myself.
Yes.
And then I left, and then 24 hours later, it was like, congratulations, here's your start.
24 hours later?
Yeah, it was very...
What is this girl doing that we're missing out on?
It was very, very quick.
So hold on. Your first ever interview was for your dream job,
Yeah.
and you got it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know, some people go through like months
Yeah.
of stages of interviews.
Yeah, no.
Oh my God, that is
Yeah.
really a blessing.
Yeah.
Is it everything you hoped for?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, working for an American company alone is just completely different because I think I interned at a lot of British-based, you know, like the Channel 5s. So the news stories alone are very different. We focus a lot on Trump. When I was at Channel 5, we focused more on, you know, knife crime in London and more people-centered stories.
Okay.
Whereas with CNN, it's very much international, big stories.
Okay.
Which is fun, but it has its ups and downs. Sometimes I prefer doing the people-centered kind of stories. But, you know, Trump is a big person and people want to know what Trump is doing. So talking about him for 12 hours, you know, isn't really a crazy idea.
What and why? So you just said that you think CNN focuses more on international stories. However, even doing so, I do feel sometimes certain parts of the world are still neglected, even though they call it CNN International. Yeah. And you work in the media industry. So what do you think makes broadcasting companies be interested in specific stories in specific places?
Views.
It's all about the views.
It's no secret. I think CNN's number one target audience is America.
Okay.
So you need to do what the people want to see. And if the people want to see Trump saying crazy statements in London, we will put Trump on the show on the TV for 12 hours. It's just the way it works. It's views. It's like, you know, Love Island. They're not gonna, despite having 2 suicides, they're not going to stop the show because they are getting the views.
They're getting the views and they're getting the money, I'm supposing as well.
Money and views. So if, you know, most of our money is coming from domestic, we are going to do shows that domestic won. And that's just how it works. It's about money and views, sadly.
So it's not about telling the stories and telling what's happening in the real world? Because I thought that was what journalism was.
No, it definitely is. I mean, the stories are told. It's probably just not... Most of the stories are not given on digital. If you notice... You might not see Sudan on the TV today, but if you go on digital platforms, someone's written an article, someone's done a video, there's a picture with a caption on it. So,
but why don't they get airtime? Those type of stories.
Like I said, views.
So you don't think people are interested in knowing what's happening in Sudan?
No, not really. Truth be told, I think we live in a fantasy where we think that people care about what's happening in their backyard. A lot of people just care about what's happening where they can see. No one, I mean, they'll care for like the first 24 hours. Oh my goodness, Sudan is awful. But most humans do check out after 24 hours because it's not in their backyard. It's not affecting them in any way. They would just rather hear about whatever is happening in
Brexit.
They'll rather hear about Brexit, Boris Johnson, as opposed to Sudan because that's not in their backyard. It doesn't affect their life in any way.
What kind of ways do you think people like us that are interested in knowing what's happening elsewhere, where can we get reliable news in that sense? I mean, the news, we're a great platform, but I also feel like social media is also great. I think we actually get a lot of our stuff from social media. Remember, like Notre Dame, we found out about it via Twitter. There's these things called data miners. So let's say like 10 people tweet about something at the same time. It kind of alerts journalists like something is happening in Paris. Look into it. So we get a lot of our news from Twitter. So we'll now look on Twitter like something's happening in Paris, and then we'll call the Paris bureau like something's happening in Paris, figure it out. So social media is good and bad because I think sometimes people create the whole fake news. Someone can just tweet something stupid and you can think it's real. But a lot of news generally does come from social media. Journalists will then go and verify it and then confirm that it's happening before it's reported. But a lot of it we do, even pictures. I remember there was a beluga whale in the River Thames last year. So random, but only one guy on Twitter had a picture. So I had to call this guy like, please, hi, you know, can we have the picture of the whale? Like, you're the only person who's seen this whale. And that's how we found out about the whale, because a guy took a picture and put it on Twitter. So the people do still kind of have a power in that sense.
Definitely.
That they're still sharing the news.
Yeah, even with the whole Sudan, people would take their phones out and send footage to journalists. I think the general public plays a bigger role than they think
we do.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, you just mentioned getting the news from social media. I think I read a poll that said, I think over 60% of the population gets their news from Facebook and other social media networks. Yeah. Do you think is that dangerous that we're getting because a lot of those news, like you said, are not necessarily verified? Yeah. So do you think it's dangerous that these are the type of news that we are consuming?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's very worrying because I mean, some of the stories that I've heard, I'm just like, it's untrue.
Mm.
I've seen people saying there's a terrorist attack. I'm thinking, no, I'm in Oxford Circles right now, and it's pretty
There's
calm.
no
Like,
terrorist.
it's business as usual. So I think social media itself is it's very powerful, but it can be very dangerous. And I think people should be aware. If you're getting news, check with the sources. Don't just, and even if it's on Twitter, if the person has like a weird username that doesn't make sense and they only have one tweet,
You should be
then you
suspicious
should
about
be
it.
suspicious. But if it's someone, if you look on their Twitter page and they have a lot of tweets about whatever they're tweeting about and they look legit, then yeah, maybe they're telling the truth. And then if you see someone else reporting it, then maybe something is happening. But don't just run to everything that you see.
I think it's interesting that you say that because I get that, and I think that makes sense. You know, if somebody looks suspicious and, you know, their page is not verified, because Twitter has the verified.
No, not even the tick like that.
The
But
tick.
just you yourself as a human. Let's say, I'm sure you've had like people make ghost accounts on Instagram.
Yes.
Like, you know what a ghost account looks like.
Looks like.
They have no followers. They have no posts. It just has like a weird random name. So when someone like that likes a picture, you're just like, okay, you're a stalker who doesn't want me to know that you're looking at my page. So on Twitter, if you see an account which just does not look like a legit account, but they're claiming something has happened, definitely do question it.
But, for example, even people like Donald Trump, they share fake news. So in that sense, how can we, how do you do the distinction? Because you can get it from a person that looks totally random, but you can also get it from the President of the United States.
Yeah.
So how safe are we really, and how do we really get to know what is true and what is not?
You know, it's hard, and it's hard for us journalists as well because people are somewhat doing a job, but they're doing it incorrectly. And then when it does come to be false, it's not going to be, oh, Peter made a fake account. It's going to be journalists are reporting fake news when that's not the case. We verify our sources. Before something has gone on air, best believe it's been checked and triple checked, double checked. We don't just randomly
Put
report
things
something.
out, yeah. Where do you think the responsibility lies? Because I do think, of course, you as the consumer of these news, you have to kind of do a self-check and be like, hold on, this doesn't sound legit. Let me do a triple check, like you said. But what about the companies like Twitter and Facebook? I think they also should take some accountability and responsibility in making sure that whatever is being circulated on their network is reliable.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's true, and how much accountability should they take?
I mean, they should take a lot. I mean, a great example is the recent incident in New Zealand. The
With
fact that with the
shooting.
gunman, he filmed himself. He was on Facebook Live for the longest time, and even after the incident, the video was still up there. You know, and I'm sure people are pressing the report button. You know, like they need to take accountability. That stuff is unacceptable. A child shouldn't be able to go on Facebook and see people being shot in a mosque. That's not normal. That video should have been shut down the minute someone had reported it, because I don't know how Facebook works, but I'm pretty sure
They have the funds for it,
they
for
had
sure.
alarm bells telling them that there's a weird video out there, take it down. I've heard people, you know, committing suicide on Facebook. As social media, it's their responsibility to shut things down, especially when they know it's false or it can cause further harm. And they are lacking taking responsibility, and it's very sad. I mean, yeah.
And did you watch the hearing? Was it Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
When he went to the hearing in the Senate, or Congress,
Yeah.
sorry. I don't think. Do you think they do it for the money? Because I don't think it would cost them anything to make sure that, like I said, the news that are being passed around are legitimate and reliable. But he didn't seem very. It didn't seem like he was really acknowledging how much part they take in that process, because, you know, he was saying like, you know, the people are sharing it, or, you know, it's coming from the people or whatever. But what can these companies do to prevent this from happening, if you know what I mean? And why aren't they taking accountability? And why aren't people like Congress holding them accountable? Like maybe there's like some sort of fines or something to make them actually take it serious, because I don't think network companies take it serious. Like even with Twitter, I don't think they actually take fake news serious.
Yeah. Because nobody's holding them accountable. It's one thing him just being called to a hearing, but nothing happened for him.
Nothing happens after.
If they told him, listen, if you don't fix this, we're shutting down your whole entire business. We're gonna put Facebook offline for, I don't know, a week. Things would change. But nobody's holding them responsible. It's one thing, just come in. Us listing what you've done wrong, that's very easy. But there were no consequences after that meeting.
Exactly.
And he's been called to hearings in London. He hasn't turned up.
Is he allowed not to turn up?
Yeah. There's been empty chairs where he just decided not to turn up. Everybody else who needed to be there was there, but he was like, I'm not coming. And because he's not obligated to come.
That's what confuses me, because why is he not obligated to be there?
I think, once again, it's just a money thing. And, yeah, it's a multi...
It's all about money.
Yeah. It is, sadly.
Sadly, but it is. Going back to journalism, being unbiased and supposed to, tell the facts from a not biased position, let's say. How unbiased do you think journalism really is, especially these days?
I think these days it's getting better because...
You think it's getting better?
No, it is, because the industry is getting more diversified.
Okay.
So now you have people who didn't have voices now working in newsrooms. You have Black, Asian, Muslim journalists working at BBC, The Guardian, Telegraph. So they are now having a say in the narrative that we're sharing. And they're even pitching story ideas. Because, I can't imagine a newsroom full of white, middle-class, middle-aged white men, and then they pitch a story about black hair. But if you go on BBC, they've done documentaries, they've done stories on black hair, because the industry is diversified. Could it do better? Indeed. I'm not, but we are nowhere close. My master's alone, which is the Oxbridge of journalism, there were 4 black people
in the whole
entire course, and there were 60 of us.
Okay.
So if you think that course represents the industry, so once we left the uni, we now went into the industry, it only got worse. So now most of my friends are the only or the other black girl in the newsroom.
Did you experience that going into CNN?
Yeah. Not just CNN, every newsroom that I've walked into, it's diversity-wise. We have a long way to go. It's not great. It's not great at all. But people are acknowledging that it's not great, and I've heard that work is being done. Would I want to see more? Definitely. But it's not great. I feel like there are a lot of young Black, Asian journalists in the UK who are not in the places that they should be because they're not being given the opportunities. I personally feel like CNN, for me, it was just God. I don't think anything about my CV or anything stood out.
Don't say that.
No, but I just... Because it's very rare for a young black girl just to get it. It's very rare. And for me getting it, I just think it was God just making the universe come and just do its thing for me.
So I know you moderated a Africa Expo last weekend.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us what it was about?
Yes, it was the Wish Africa Expo, which was their first time running, and it's just all about bringing Africans in the creative industry, tourism, just coming together and sharing thoughts and collaborating. And I chaired the promoting African tourism panel, which was incredible. I was originally meant to have the ambassador to Morocco, Kenya, and South Africa, and Nigeria. But for some reason, it ended up with just one.
Okay, so out of 5?
Out of 4.
Out of 4.
Only one ended up turning up, which was great. I think it kind of explains why Morocco's tourism rate is so high anyway. Because he turned up to the meeting, others didn't. And that's probably why their tourism rates are not very good. Because it just shows the kind of serious person that you are.
That is true.
Yeah.
How was the experience though, moderating that? Well, I guess he wasn't moderating because only one person.
Yeah, it was more like
a chill interview.
It was good. a little bit scared because I feel like with people in government, you just have to be. They don't like journalists already. So before we had even gotten started, I was taking a slide back. He was like, "Team, okay, stick to the questions that you've given us. Already you're telling me that I can't
kind of move anywhere
and ask anything a little bit controversial. But I did drop a little few lines here and there that were controversial.
Of course you did.
And he didn't really like it. But one of the questions was about racism in Morocco. Because I know a lot of people have gone. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing place. But a lot of black people have gone and they've experienced racism.
I have, personally, yeah.
So I said, what are you doing about it? His response was very diplomatic and said, just said, racism happens everywhere. And it's no different in Morocco. I said, thank you, my ambassador. I was going to argue with him. But... yeah, it was good.
Did his team get upset that you asked that question? Did they get back to you and say
no? But after he finished his statement, his whole entourage,
just
clap for him. It was a great response, but the audience was just
you're not really giving him the answer.
You're not giving us the answer. But
is it a hard job being a journalist? Because like you just explained, sometimes you can't really there's no room for maneuver in that sense, that you weren't allowed to ask the questions that you wanted to. So how can you, if you're in that position, what can you do to try and get the truth, I guess, out of, especially when you're talking about politicians, because I feel like most of the times they already have their answers prepared. Do you know what I mean? So how do you maneuver?
I feel like for me, as a new journalist, I'm still a little bit scared because I'm just like, I'm not trying to ruin my career. But I feel like Christiane Amanpour, she is incredible. I mean, have you ever seen her interview people? She'll grill you. Even if you don't want to answer her question, she'll find a way. If you don't answer it there, she'll come back.
Yeah, she'll find a way to like,
And I just think it's just you being aggressive and just pushing until you get what you want. And because politicians are very good at saying a lot but not answering your question.
They're very good at dodging questions. And they always come prepared with, like you said, diplomatic responses. What was your biggest takeaway from the Expo?
My biggest takeaway was there's no limitations to what we can do as Africans.
Okay. Yeah. Can you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, there were just so many different people. So there was a guy who opened up a restaurant called Ikoi. It's not an African restaurant. He wants to emphasize it's not an African restaurant, but it has like African influences and flavors. And he got a Michelin star. Like, he's doing really well for himself, and he's in a great location in London. He's young. I mean, it's something that his parents probably didn't even think would ever happen. But their son came to England and met a friend who's Asian who likes to cook. The two of them came together and created this amazing business idea. And I think it's just bringing African minds together and collaborating is definitely something, especially in the diaspora. I think we have the privilege of being able to do that. So I think that was my biggest takeaway. Don't be afraid to meet with your people, come together and make something great.
Going back to the media and it being biased, for example, when a story breaks out of the media always portrays stories differently depending on, I believe, the race of the perpetrator of the action. And especially when it comes into America, where racial, tension is very high. Anytime we speak about anything that's sort of criminal, black people are always portrayed in a different light than when we have a white criminal. Even when we're talking about terrorism, how there was a shooter that was kind of seen as angelic man, something, and we know when it's a Muslim person or of black descent, that's not the narrative that they push. Why do you think the media does that? Why do they perpetuate those stereotypes?
I don't know. I personally myself, I don't think I've worked on such a story where we've ended up giving somebody a label that society or stereotypes is giving them. I mean, we've worked on a lot of like knife crime stories, and we go in there very open-minded. But sometimes I just feel like it's the pressures from society, social media, even because sometimes even before somebody has actually committed a crime, already on social media, you've already been titled a terrorist. So before an article has even come out, people have already decided what they want to label the person. So I think a lot of people who are very loose with those words are publications such as the Daily Mail and the Sun. They're known for controversy. They like just calling people whatever they want to call them. But I think a lot of other social medias are very cautious of what labels they give people, because you don't want to call somebody a terrorist and it's not. So a lot of people, the only time they do ever label somebody is when a government official has said, we are calling this a terrorist attack. Okay. But media publications won't just run and say, this is a terrorist attack. It's only labeled that after. So let's say something happened in London right now, we would call the Met Police and then get a statement from the Met Police. So if the Met Police have now told us that they're treating this incident as a terrorist attack, then we would report it as a terrorist attack. But I understand some companies don't do that. Like I said, the Sun and Daily Mail would run and
just call it what it is.
Call it what it is, and they can do that, and nobody will stop them because that's the kind of publications that they are. But I think a lot of the big ones, the BBCs, the CNNs, we stay away from giving away people labels. And when someone is given a label, we are just repeating what a government official or what a police commissioner has said, it's never just we sat in a newsroom and said it's a terrorist attack. No, we got a press statement from the Met Police. They've said they're treating it as a terrorist attack. Therefore, we are just sharing that information on, as opposed to we sit there and decide what it is. No, that's not how it works.
But what about in terms of the actual perpetrator? Because I understand how it works with calling something a terrorist attack. You still need that kind of government verification of that. But in terms of the story itself and the perpetrator, I do feel as white people are mostly humanized when it comes to that.
Oh yeah.
Whereas people of minorities, they are demonized.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? And is the media just feeding into the way people see things?
No, I think it just represents diversity.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of very diverse people with different mindsets in the newsroom.
In the media, okay.
So it's not about feeding a narrative, it's about that's their thoughts as well. This is why I'm saying diversity is very important, because when you have other people who maybe view things from a different perspective, you're able to put your hand up and say, actually, I don't think we should do it like this. But when you don't have diversity, that's when incidents like you were saying happen, because there's lack of diversity and a certain group of people are the ones which are predominantly white, middle-aged, middle-class men who are in control, and that's how you end up with such narratives.
So would you think that kind of, I don't want to call it a solution, but a way to make things better is, like you said, to diversify and have more people, more Muslim people, more black people in those newsrooms that can kind of identify themselves in, those people that they see, and kind of give it a bit of a human side of it, if you know what I mean, because they always say you relate to what looks like you, and white people, as they see a white terrorist, they might be able to relate more than if it's a Muslim or black or any other ethnicity. So you think the response is just having more diversity in the workplace to change the narrative?
Yeah, I think the best example is it last year, the H&M incident with the monkey?
The monkey, yeah.
My personal thought was, I don't think anybody sat there and they found it to be offensive in the boardroom. Why? Because they most likely were white people. So when they saw the monkey and the kid, it was just like, it's a monkey and a kid. But if they had a black person in
they
there,
couldn't be able to be
someone
like,
could have just raised their hand and said, okay, I know you don't mean any offense, but
we will take it that way.
Yeah, I could see why someone of color could find that offensive. Had that conversation happened, that whole incident would have never happened. Yeah. But because there's no diversity in a lot of these companies, they're missing out and causing offense when they don't need to cause offense, but because there's no one of that color to say, hold on, that might be offensive to other people.
Do you truly think they don't mean to cause offense?
I know, honestly, I think it's genuine. I don't think that was.
So what do you say to the people that believe that actually? Because I'm one of those people. I sometimes think companies are very smart on what they do, and I think sometimes it's a strategy. I think they intentionally sometimes, because did you watch that Heineken? You cannot tell me.
I understand. I think now it's a trend. I think some companies have seen that actually the backlash is good.
Yes.
But I feel like the original cases that happened, I think it was just general error and misjudgment. Like I said, if you're not a black person, sometimes you can't sit there and fathom that this could cause offense.
It's not your experience.
To them, it was just a monkey on a kid. Like, why was that an issue? Because we give them so much attention.
Yeah.
It's like, why not cause offense? Because I know people, yes, you might, burn my night trainers or whatever, but
girl, you're gonna go and buy new ones. So.
And you're gonna tweet about me for like a whole entire week and get us more views and
And it has actually shown that after those companies go through those scandals, you call it, their sales actually go up.
There you go.
I think it's just smart.
Yeah. No, marketing. I think with a lot of them now it's smart marketing, but I think there have been general cases where it's been just a misjudgment and that's
not
just
having a diversity there.
Yeah.
Have you ever boycotted a company for anything?
No, I've never been so offended by anything. I don't take things to heart. I think if we got offended with things that were said or done to us as black people, I think you'd be angry every single day.
Yeah.
So I think with most things, I'm just like, whatever. You know, even the whole incident with the BBC journalist who did the whole monkey.
Oh, with the Meghan Markle?
Yeah, you know, like that was absolutely disgusting. But the anger that I had and trying to explain to people, because some people are like, oh, he shouldn't be fired. So now I was arguing with people like why he shouldn't be fired because I was so offended. But it gets tiring. So I've come to a point where if I see something, if H&M do something, I'm just going to be like, whatever, H&M. I don't have the energy to fight.
I know. I feel like that, and especially now that I know they're doing it, or I feel as though they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't really give them that much.
Just don't give them the attention.
No, I don't have that energy.
Yeah.
How much freedom do you have to form your own opinions outside of your work?
I think you do. I think my opinions are very much, I don't think they're too controversial. So when I tweet something, it's never anything offensive. Most of my thoughts are just funny, and like I said, I don't take a lot of things to heart. But I just feel like there's certain things that I wouldn't publicly say because I know it's gonna be somebody might not receive it the way I want them to receive, or they'll be offended. So there's certain things I definitely keep within my closest circles at home with my mom, my friends. It's not something that I'm going to say in an interview here. It's not something I'm going to put on Twitter. But if I'm having an intimate conversation with my friends and we're being fully honest and, you know, after a few drinks, that's a different scenario. And a lot of journalists are. I remember Laura Koonsberg, she came to do a lecture at our uni last year, and we asked her, like, you're like the biggest politics reporter in the UK. Like, how do you manage to have like a normal life? Like, can you talk about politics to your friends? Like, what political party do you even support? And she was like, it's hard because she can't openly have conversations like in a pub and be like, oh yeah, I voted for so and so. And even at home, she's very careful with the kind of people that she does have certain conversations with, because she knows that, you know, not only is she just Laura Koonsberg, but she is Laura Koonsberg from the BBC. Therefore, anything that she does think could affect the brand. So she's very careful of what she says. And if it is a private conversation, it's with people you trust. Maybe your husband, maybe you have very close friends. But I wouldn't have certain conversations with a random person. And I wouldn't put it on Twitter. Where people can take screenshots, you know?
Because that can come and bite you.
There you go.
Okay, Sam, I wanted to ask you, what's next?
What's next? I'm like in a crossroad where, you know, you like, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know, get your foot in. Lovely, done that. Now, like, the next stage is navigating your way up. That's something, I don't really know how to do it. I'm struggling. And I also feel like it goes down to the diversity thing. I feel like a lot of my friends who are in journalism, they've been able to go into a newsroom and find a mentor, because a lot of the people look like them. So when you walk into a newsroom, somebody will just generally like you, and they'll put you under your wing and they want to mentor you and help you navigate. Whereas for me, the times that I have gone into a newsroom, I haven't really seen anybody who looks like me, and I haven't seen somebody say, oh, I like you, Sam, I want to be your mentor. So I'm now like at a point where I've got my foot in. Now I'm trying to figure out how to navigate my way up and find myself and flourish. But yeah, it's proving to be difficult. Like I said, I didn't realize that it was this hard. But like now that I'm sat there, I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's definitely a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, more journalism and branching out. I feel like people shouldn't put themselves in a box. I mean, just because you have a journalism degree doesn't mean that like you should just be a journalist. I want to start a business. I want to travel. I just want to do a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, I love journalism, it's my passion, but I want to be rich, and I'm not going to be rich being a journalist.
You look rich right now.
I mean, you have to fake it until you make it. That's what they say. So I feel like, yeah, I want to branch out and start new projects, and yeah, definitely not going to put myself in a box and be a journalist.
And I know you started a podcast.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. I mean, me and my friends, we all did our masters together at City, and we were like the only black people on the course. So yeah, we just decided we're all now working in the industry at different companies, but there's just so much happening in the world that it's just like, it just makes you angry, and it just like gets you talking. And not only does it make you angry, it also gets you talking. So we're talking about, I don't know, microaggressions in the workplace, traveling while black, or mental health as an ethnic minority, just different topics that affect young people. I mean, we're even gonna go as deep as talking about HPV and cervical cancer and the smear test. There's a lot of things in our community that we don't talk about. Like, I don't know how many times you've spoken to your mom about, like, you know, getting a smear test, or your friends. You know, it's not a topic.
It's not a regular topic of discussion.
Yeah. And the cervical cancer jab, it turned out one of my friends, her mom actually said, don't get it. And she never got the cervical cancer jab because in our community, it's not something that was discussed.
There's a stigma.
So, you know, a couple of years down the line, when you now go to the doctors and they're like, why don't you have your jab? You know, we didn't, in our community, it wasn't something that people told us about. It's one thing you sending a letter home. People know most African parents were working crazy hours. Nobody had time to sit down and read your letter and sign it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just bringing light on topics that are affecting us on a day-to-day. And
what is the podcast called?
It's called What the Fuck is Going On? Because, listen,
I'm expecting an invitation.
yes, no, definitely. We're going to be getting guests and getting just very, open and talking. And I think there's a power in sharing experiences.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, for some, in the African community, people just want to keep things to themselves.
Themselves.
They don't want other people to grow and progress. I feel like, no, fuck it. Share your experience. Help somebody.
Yeah, you never know. I think if a door was open to you, you have the responsibility to open that door to somebody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's no a sense of unity. Like, if you go, I can also go with you. I mean, I have to tell you, you're such an inspiration for me, honestly. I guess anytime I see something on your page, I'm like, yes, you know that clap emoji, that's literally all I do. I'm like, yes, Sam, yes, Sam. I'm honestly really proud of you, and I think you're definitely an inspiration for a lot of young Africans. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm still finding myself and learning, to be honest. Like,
it's still a journey.
Yeah, it is definitely a journey. When people are like, oh my gosh, I look up to you, I'm like, don't do that, because me, I don't know where I'm going. I don't, you know, sometimes I wake up and like, so like,
what is happening?
Am I going? I don't know what's happening. But then somebody will email me on Instagram or something, or send me a message and be like, oh Sam, I just applied for a master's at City like you. I'm thinking, oh wow, amazing. But I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm glad that I'm inspiring you, you know, as I go along.
Yeah, I think my friend was telling me yesterday, she was like, you seem like you have everything figured out. And I was like, I really don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what's the mess that's going on behind. But you know, people always see the outside.
I say fake it until you make it.
Fake it till you make it, honey. Yeah. So guys, fake it till you make it.
Yes.
Hi guys, so this week I have my good friend Samantha. She's a very successful journalist. She's also an entrepreneur. Did I say that right?
No.
No, I didn't.
You rushed it.
Try to say entrepreneur.
I think I might have to do it on separate codes.
Don't give them the work.
Hi guys, so this week I have, no I don't. You have nothing. You ain't got shit. You ain't got nothing. Okay,